What is up, guys? It's the Sound Alchemist, and here is my conjoined twin.
Gershwan.
Actually, we're not conjoined, but get ready for another For the Greater.
This is a video series where we answer the questions left by you, the viewers. If you have a question for us, comment down below. Put question in front of your question because we get to those questions first, which is what Brandon Barnett did. He asks.
Brandon B.
Barnett, yo, whoa.
Oh.
Could a Renegade Space Marine chapter ever ally with the Tau and become brainwashed for the greater good?
I don't think they'll ally, but they'll probably ally with the... It's like tomato.
Potato.
I just have to say it. Go ahead.
I don't think that they would brainwash the Chaos Space Marine. I think the Chaos Space Marine would work mischievously. And
Not mischievously?
Nope, mischievously. And then he would try to use the Tau Empire for whatever reason. I feel like that's been a story somewhere.
The Dark Eldar did something very similar to that.
To the Tau?
Mm-hmm. The Dark Eldar rolled up to like a Tau Sept world, and they're like, "Oh, greetings, fellow beings. Let's trade. Let's work and prosper for one another." And the Tau are like, "Sure. You just gotta, pledge yourself to the greater good." And they mischievously said yes. And after a little while, they started noticing that Tau were going missing. And during like battles and stuff like that, the Dark Eldar started using grotesques that had the same color skin as the Tau. And after a little while, they put two and two together. But by that point, the Tau Empire sent all their forces to attack the main Dark Eldar fleet. But it turns out that was just a hologram, and the Dark Eldar used that time when all their war efforts were out to invade the planet. And by the time the Tau came back, it was barren. And the Dark Eldar are made up with a lot of slaves.
And I feel like the Tau Empire is gullible like that. And I feel like most other races, intelligent races, would be able to capitalize on that and be like, oh, cool, we could trick these guys into pretty much doing anything.
Yeah, just we'll say we pledged to the greater good. Fingers crossed.
In that same way, I feel like the Necrons can do that. So Chaos, we said, and obviously Eldar. And even humanity, I'm pretty sure there's some slick rogue traders that are let's get the better of these ethereals and their thick earth-cast women.
Yeah, but yeah, definitely Chaos can easily trick a Tau, unless they've encountered Tau before or Chaos before. Then I think they'll be more hesitant.
Also, if you're building a campaign around like a Chaos and Tau alliance, they could just be fighting a similar enemy. So like their alliance is just because that's the situation.
Enemy of my enemy is my friend.
Yeah, but once there's another fly in here, and then
Nurgle.
Yeah. Damn Nurgle. But yeah, good question.
This one's also by Brandon Barnett. At this point, I think this is Bridget B.
Probably.
Like the initials, it's gotta be.
BB.
It's just a burner account that she's using.
For sure.
With the Tau's rapidly advancing technology, how long until they study dead space marines and learn to backward engineer their own Tau Astarte?
I think it's so check out our 40 facts on
Was it
Tau Space Marines.
Space Marine Tau or Tau Space Marines? Yeah.
And I basically talk about it. I think the reason that they haven't gotten to that point is because they're satisfied with their technology. I think they would much rather go the route of AI and suits than biologically changing the Fire Warriors, basically.
Yeah, because then at that point, Fire Warriors would look like a JoJo character.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know who JoJo is.
Oh, you've got a lot of learning to do.
But yeah. There's also a lot of fan art of Tau Space Marines, and they look pretty cool.
Oh, yeah, there is.
Next question comes from Hippie Hurdler. Why were the fur babies upset last video? Because somebody arrived. They get all crazy when there is a knock at the front door. Which is what they're supposed to do, I guess.
Yeah.
They're supposed to alert us of somebody showing up. But the bad thing is that, like, sometimes they do it randomly. So we're at the point now that we just ignore the barking. So if we ever had an intruder, the dogs didn't really do much. Well, I mean, they'll scare the intruder, but that's about it.
But it's like, if you're an intruder, you should be aware of the scare.
Right. Which is why home invasions are always, like, like if you have a home invasion, odds are it's somebody in like that knows you really well, or is part of the family or something.
Yeah.
Which is sad.
It is very sad.
Next question.
Digital Sigma. Considering dreadnoughts seem to be very top-heavy, if one was to fall on its back, how would it manage to get back up on its feet? Or would it literally just flail around like a helpless turtle / Magikarp?
Imagine.
Well, recently there was a Twitter account that posted an awesome video of this dude roller skating, falling, but then like pushing off his shoulder and landing like a boss. So that's probably what a dreadnought would do. He'd use the momentum of toppling over to do a barrel roll and land on his feet.
Yeah, I can definitely see some type of like either jet or like just like catapult thing that just pops from the back, and then the dreadnought just pops.
He's just got a big ass spring in the back.
Yeah, walking around with it. And also, like the bottom part, when you're building the dreadnought, you can tell that the bottom part is just like a ball and socket, so it can actually just rotate down and come back up. So,
if you're unaware of what this looks like, just look at somebody crumping. That's pretty close.
Exactly. Yeah.
Or like the Jabberwockies, just look at that.
Just look at them. Yeah.
Yeah, because when a dreadnought falls, there's usually nobody around to see it.
Just like a Jabberwocky. This question comes from Dogal Rand. What is your opinion of the rest of the Imperium on the... What is the opinion of the rest of the Imperium on the Primarist? Is it a blessing, blasphemy, or the Emperor's work? So the rest of the Imperium sees this as I'm pretty sure, a blessing. Mm-hmm. It's like, a more military force. Yeah. There might be a few individuals who see this as a threat, but they don't see the Space Marines as a threat. So why would they see the Primaris as a threat?
Yeah, if anything, it's just more defenders for humanity. Yeah, and that's good.
And then it also depends on the chapter too, because you have to remember that sometimes some planetary governors fear the fact that the Space Marines are showing up, because it usually means like, these guys don't give a fuck about us. They just care about killing the enemy. And if that means mowing down every hive city on the planet, they're going to do it. So in those situations, it's like, well, I don't care if it's Primaris or Old Marines, they suck.
Yeah, it's like, if they know they can't beat the enemy, or they're just going to blow us up anyway. Exterminatus.
Yeah. And they can't do anything about it because they're Space Marines.
You step up to them, you're going to get put down.
You get sat down.
They're going to put their hand on your shoulder and tell you to log out now.
Who has done that?
My teachers. It's like, are you on 4chan again?
Again?
No, it's Reddit. Elliot Figueroa. How viable is an all Gretchen army?
Right now, I don't think very viable at all.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, how many Gretchens do you know?
Probably like 3.
Is that enough for an army?
I mean, they're all redheaded, so yeah.
That is true. I only know one Gretchen, and she is redhead.
They always are. And yeah, there's too much... They're too squishy. Everything about them is too squishy. So, like, even if you do Killicons...
Well, orcs in general
Gretchen,
are squishy.
No, but, like, toughness 4 is good.
Oh, they're toughness 3, right?
Yeah, so, like, if you show up with a gun... Space Marine basic bolter, you're done. You could just obliterate an entire unit of Gretchen, redhead and all. Next question comes from Hunter Workus. Because when orcs see red things and they go faster, if Imperials painted their vehicles red in a war zone with orcs, would they go faster? No, that's not how it works.
Yet.
Ever,
yeah. It's like a orc field that probability works weird on.
Yeah.
And it's only an orc thing.
Yes. It's one of those questions that I feel like I really need to create the video for, but I gotta sit down and actually like write the script. It's gonna be long, and it's like, but you guys want to know so much about it, and it's an interesting part of their lore.
Yeah, I feel like that is one of the most popular questions we get.
Yeah.
The whole orc and their colors and the probability and is Gork and Mork an actual chaos, god, or are they actually gods? Do they exist?
Yeah. This next question comes from Jim McHugh. How long does a demon last outside of the warp? on his own, possessing a living body and possessing an AI.
Well, I think that depends on the body he's possessing. Because if you're a one-pump chump, then you ain't gonna last at all.
Yeah, that's true.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's those Minutemen.
Yeah.
No girl wants no Minuteman. So like a straight-up demon outside of the warp, by himself, not possessing anything, would last. I think you're going to have to go to our 40 facts on demon incursions, because I know I talk about it in that one, but I think it's either a couple of days or a couple of weeks. I can't remember which one.
Yeah, and once they go back into the warp, it's like 10,000 years until they can come back.
Yeah. It might be 100 years.
Is it?
But again, check out that video because that explains it.
Yeah, I think it also depends on the strength of the demon and the will of the Chaos God, too.
And then if they possess AI, I think they're just they're like infinitely bound to that thing. Kind of like demon engines, where they don't necessarily have to go back into the warp. But they have all these other rules that they have to follow. So, yeah. Next question.
Jacob Clark, he's got an interesting question. What would your dream duel be? I'd have to say Bruvas, Sly, Marbo versus an Orc war boss. Sly would win. We all know this.
Yeah. I want to see a fight where I won't know who the winner is. I think that would be more exciting than knowing who the winner is going to be.
Yeah. I'd have to say Drago versus a Primarch, just to see, like, is he really on Primarch level?
Yeah, that would be good.
Which we kind of already saw. He went against Mortarion and beat his ass.
But it's...
Was it Matt Ward at the time?
Yeah. That whole thing is kind of... I think like that's an old wives' tale type of situation.
They pulled the wool over our eyes.
Yeah, the Inquisition did, because he's like, let's talk up the Grey Knights. Let's say he defeated a demon prince.
He didn't just defeat him. He carved his name on his chest. Like, come on. That's more than a defeat.
This question comes from Elias Ravanati. Is a quesadilla a sandwich? No, a quesadilla is made out of tortillas, not bread.
What kind of tortillas? Flour or corn?
Yeah, it don't matter.
It's true. It really don't.
Kind of. Well, for the question of is it a sandwich?
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah. Because I like my quesadillas with corn tortillas, not flour tortillas.
Same. The only time I like flour tortillas is with like carne molida and like cheese.
Definitely. A burrito. But yeah. Next question.
Dormantus. Is it just me, or does Gershwin look like he's on the verge of bursting into tears anytime he talks about the Sound Alchemist, or something related to him? Did something happen? Did all the recent videos are just past recordings?
Yeah, he's technically dead.
Yeah.
He's not standing here. I did super good
editing skills.
You're just an AI robot now.
Yeah, he just chopped all the audio from previous For the Greater Wall videos and put it like in tandem. Kind of like when celebrities like sing songs based on like their speeches.
Yep. What is that stuff? Deep fakes. Like there is another person that's not the Sound Alchemist sitting next to me speaking, but it's a deep face thing on his face, and then the pre-recordings.
There you go.
You're welcome, One Mind Syndicate fans. the lengths I have to go to. This question comes from SB. Can a Thunder Warrior win a Primarist Marine in combat? So win against a Primarist Marine in combat or any kind of warfare? I think it really depends on the situation, but more often than not, the Primarist Marine is smarter than a Thunder Warrior.
Yeah, smarts usually trump power.
Sometimes.
Usually. Matthew Lowry. When it comes to rack goals, who did it first? 40K or Star Wars, Knights of the Old Republic?
Probably Star Wars.
Yeah.
Because rack goals came about because of the Dark Heresy novels, which was a... what is Dungeons & Dragons considered? A role-playing game. So I think they just wanted to fluff up more of the aliens within the 40K universe, and I'm pretty sure the writers went over to like Star Wars and was like, oh cool, you guys have rack goals, and you guys have what's the other one, the Rancors and stuff like that.
Rancors.
But yeah, next question.
Raven Fled. How space travel affects time in the 40K universe. For example, a soldier from Valhalla comes back from a 20-year war. Does he actually come back 100 years later? Is speed an afflection of time?
No, the speed is not, because of the warp. That's how they get around it. The warp is the magic of travel. So if they go from one location, if the Valhallan goes to another planet to fight, comes back a year later, yes, it is a year on Valhalla. Or 100 years, whatever you said.
Yeah, but again, like, the warp is funny and weird like that. So you could be traveling like 20 days, but come back in the past and the future. So in a way, that kind of does affect time, but that's the warp.
Yep, that's
not
the
actually
magic.
speed.
Yeah. Which means, though, in that situation, like, let's say, like, the Imperial Guard Regiment goes into the warp to travel to another planet, and they fight 100 years, and then they go, well, it wouldn't be 100 years. So let's say they fight 20 years, and then they jump back on that ship, and they go back to their home planet, which, again, they wouldn't do, because once you're in the Imperial Guard Regiment, you're, like, until you die. Very rarely do you actually retire. And then they get stuck or somehow time travel in the warp to, like, a year or two before they left, then that means that there are two of that person out in the world, which is kind of trippy and cool.
Yeah. Orcs have done something similar where, like, an orc traveled back in time to kill himself so he could have two of his favorite weapon.
Yep. So, yeah. And those were the questions for today. If you guys have more questions for us, please comment down below. Thank you guys so much for listening. Yeah.
Hologram Alchemist
Gershwan.
signing out.
Oh, if you could put my